Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Romance Dawn podcast. I'm your host Jagan, aka JaganGuts, and I'm joined by my usual co-host Al Fiji. What's up, brother? How we doing?
What's good, bro? Today we're here to talk about a lot of things. It's a break week, which means it's exciting. There isn't, everybody talking about the same thing on YouTube in the One Piece community, so we'll just bring something new.
For sure, absolutely. Like Fiji just said, One Piece is on break, but luckily we still have a lot planned for this episode. Of our main topic being the potential matchups we'll be getting for the raid on Onigashima. But before we dive into that, let's talk about some of the differences the Viz translations had for Chapter 983. So Fiji, what did you think the biggest difference was? Did anything noteworthy stand out to you?
So I remember in the first episode of the podcast, what we did say, one thing we did talk about quickly was the fact that Big Mom might have turned the tank, the brachial bomber, into a homie, and that's why it underwent some sort of transformation. But in this episode, well, not this episode, in the Viz translation that came out last Sunday, it actually outright says that, that Big Mom's attack hit a transformation switch, and that's what made it change and activate like some sort of transformation. So she did not turn it into a homie. I thought that would have been dope and would have explained her like personality in that scene and her attitude, because she seemed laid back, like she knew she was about to take a W or something. You know what I mean? She just seemed very nonchalantly unbothered about the entire thing. The fact that Usopp and Chopper got away from her. But it kind of makes sense because of her position right now anyway. But that would have been a good competent action from her, you know what I'm saying? Or an action that shows a level of competence from her.
Right, that's absolutely a good point. And then we also, in the scene right after, we get Sanji's statement on ladies instead of prostitutes. He just says, I will not give up on looking for ladies. It makes it seem not as noble to me that he's just kind of acting in his own self-interest, which I could be wrong.
Yeah, because...
but, I mean, that's what it seems like to me. What do you think?
I mean, the fan translations or the scans that came out said, I'm not going to be abandoning the ladies. And abandoning the ladies makes it seem like there are ladies for him to defend. And I was expecting, typical Sanji chivalrous moment where he, protects a woman like, Tashigi and Punk Hazard, something like that. And that would be fine. That would be understandable. It's within character. That would be actually kind of dope for him. But he's just looking for ladies, so it's just his gag again hitting us and his perversion, which, is to kind of be too expected. But I'm just kind of shocked that he's looking for ladies and abandoning Nami, Carrot, and those. Like, it's just weird to me that he's leaving them with Big Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Really weird.
Yeah, I brought that up in the last one. It's like you're getting chased by a Yonko, and then he all of a sudden just dips. That just does not, like, even for Sanji, that doesn't really add up to me.
Yeah, it's a bit wild to me, but it's like at the same time, it's gonna lead to something dope, a solo plotline for Sanji.
Yep.
But just the way it got there, the execution of that in particular, the fact that he's just looking for ladies, and that's the reason why he's gonna get his solo plotline, I don't really like it.
For sure. And then we got... So, this isn't really that important, it's just kind of funny to me. I love how they changed Queen's statement from "you sons of bitches" to "scallywags." Like, come on, Stephen Paul, man.
Yeah, man. I get it. It makes sense because this is going into the volumes that are like sold to kids and stuff.
Right.
It's it takes away like an element of badassery from Queen that I got from the fan translations. You know what I'm saying? Like delivery of that is like, all right, you sons of bitches, you SOBs.
Yeah,
Brother
man.
Orochi here is about to present, like, you know what I'm saying? It's defining for Queen a bit more than just you scallywags.
Dude,
but I guess it's similar. It's similar.
Queen is the most entertaining calamity by far. Like, King's my favorite, but Queen is just, he's hilarious every single time he's on screen, man. I love Queen.
Queen is my favorite. King might definitely... I actually see him surpassing him. I just feel like we need more of him. We've been with Queen a lot more.
Yep.
But I think all three of the calamities are actually fairly solid characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Jack, even though he takes a lot of L's, he's such a very formidable force still. He attacked a ship that had an admiral and a fleet admiral in it. And I know people will kind of downplay him for that, but in my opinion, that just says a lot about just the whole nature of the Beast Pirates, their recklessness.
Exactly.
They're fun,
Yeah, no, Jack is... all the L's he's taken, they're not necessarily, like, L's in the ground. Like, he took a loss in all them instances, but they're to be expected, bro. He got smacked by a massive fucking elephant. Like, Like,
A country,
a,
bro.
a country, quite literally. He got hit by a moving country. I'm not gonna call that an L because that trunk is like destroying so many people, so many
Yeah,
people. So it's like, yeah,
absolutely,
I don't know.
absolutely. And then I think Keen has definitely the most potential for exposition because of his, extinct race. Like, what are we going to find out
Exactly.
about that? That's going to be really interesting. And obviously, there's a reason why Oda hasn't revealed his bounty yet. It's probably going to
Hmm.
have a decent significance. My prediction is actually 1,666,000,000. I think he might give him like a devil like bounty. What do you think of that?
Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think? Why do you think that is? Just because of his like the fire and the design and stuff?
Exactly, just his whole persona, his image. I think a very
The
devil-like
fact that
bounty
he,
would be very fitting, and because 1.6 kind of makes sense if you look at the structure. Jack is 1 billion, Queen's 1.3, so give him 1.66, something like that.
yeah, yeah. I see that. I see that. I see that. I like it.
Okay.
I would. It would make sense. It would make a lot of sense. I see a lot of people predicting like 1.4. I don't think so. I do think it's gonna be a bit over Luffy's.
Yeah, it
If
should
it
be. It
was
should be.
introduced, if it was introduced back like when like there's so many instances that he could have introduced King's Bounty in, and the fact that he hasn't just tells me that it's gonna be something impressive. And if it's less than Luffy's, then it isn't that impressive. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Because
Why
it's
make us wait? Yeah,
1.4. Yeah, why make us wait? Exactly. That's like my only reason for thinking that it's going to be around that ballpark. I was thinking the same as you, 1.6 to 1.7, something like that.
for sure, for sure. So moving on to another scene that I found pretty interesting in the Viz was Kid versus the Gifters. So the Gifters who are looking away in that scene, when Kid hits them off guard, they say, "Wait, sir, Master Kaido is looking for you," instead of
Yeah.
Please wait," in a vague sense, because we didn't
Yeah.
know who they were addressing at first. And then they also
Yeah.
say Kaido is searching for someone. So that clears up a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
It just makes it clear as day that Yamato is in the same vicinity
Yeah.
as that.
And it's really interesting because if we had saw that, then we would, because this is the thing, right? A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on Yamato, right? Some people think he's super strong. Some people think the reason why all 6 of the Flying Six were sent after him is because he's good at hiding and he had like a devil fruit that lets him blend in and stuff. But this scene tells me that he's just reckless because he's running through a battle zone, right?
Yep.
The Gifters are fighting Kid. He's running through them and people are noticing him. So if he was good at hiding and stuff, then that wouldn't be the reason why.
Yeah, exactly.
This like him being good at hiding, I don't think he is. If he's like, if Kaido's looking for him and he's just running in between a battle zone,
Yeah,
right?
and what did we just talk about with the theme of the Beast Pirates being reckless? You know what I'm saying? It's Kaido's son. I don't know.
Exactly,
It just makes
exactly.
sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So,
And then you think of
go ahead.
now that makes me feel like, yeah, the Flying Six was sent after him because that's how formidable he is. All 6 of them, that was like a good enough bet for Kaido and King. They was like 6 of them could probably capture him, but they're not gonna send 1 or 2 because all 6 of them, even though they're doing it individually and they're competing, that still means that Yamato will have to deal with at least 6 Flying Six.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Keen. I'm assuming is betting on the idea that some of them will wear him down and that they'll eventually just get him. Even though they are competing for the opportunity to fight for a Calamity position, it just makes sense that you'd send 6. But it's pretty much impossible at this point to accurately power scale Yamato. I mean, we have to see what's up with Ulti. Is she actually done for the count? I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sleep on the ceiling of Kaido's son. He could end up being, above even King. I mean, I doubt it, but I'm just saying it wouldn't be crazy.
It could be.
It wouldn't
No,
be
he could
crazy,
be.
Yeah.
I doubt it too, but he honestly could be. The only reason I doubt it is because I feel like he's really young. If he's a grown man, that I actually think he might be above King.
Oh, if he's a grown
But-
man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just get the vibe that he's like a teen. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty young.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, was there any other scene that you found interesting with the Viz?
Nothing really. I would say, yeah, there isn't really anything. That's the main ones we kind of went over. The Peros scene is a bit different because if you look at the Peros scene, he says, "I don't approve of this alliance."
Oh,
But then
true,
you go-
true, good point. Yeah,
Yeah, but then you go see it, and he says, "I don't take this alliance seriously."
yeah. That kind of emphasizes more like defiance towards Big Mom. Like, I'm not taking this bullshit seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So is I don't take this seriously. But then he says the Big Mom pirates will reign supreme. So that's kind of the same in both the Viz and the normal, and we kind of covered that in the first episode. But yeah, it's like that is a distinction to be made. I don't approve of this alliance, and then I don't take this alliance seriously. It's they're both kind of saying the same thing, but in a different way. Because I feel like the Viz kind of disrespects Big Mom more than the fanscans. The fanscans is like, I don't approve of the alliance. Like,
Right.
I don't approve of her doing this. But this was like, I don't take this seriously.
Yeah,
Big Mom
for
don't know
sure.
what she's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Perro Sparrow plotline is gonna be interesting, man. I know we talked about this on last podcast, but
Yeah,
I
we
like the
might
idea
talk
of
about it
it.
later on. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of him having like a solo sort of mission. It's cool.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. It's just the only reason why this does scare me is because of like the pacing of the arc and the amount of individual plot lines we're getting.
Yeah.
Like now Sanji's gonna have to have his own shine like alone, which means panels of him alone, time dedicated for him. Perosporo's gonna have time dedicated for him. Marco and Neko in another scene. Luffy's in his own scene. Zoro's in his own scene. Kid's in his own scene. And that's why I feel like this whole idea that I have that I kind of shared briefly in the first episode and that I made a video about, this idea of everything culminating in one scene, in a massive scene at Momonosuke's crucifixion, I feel like it's just perfect for just the writing purposes. For the fact that he doesn't have to write all of these individual plot lines and he can just culminate it all in one area for the next few chapters, have an all-out battle go down there, and then he can separate and then go back to the individual plot lines.
For sure, it definitely makes sense. I would definitely like if that comes to fruition. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to discussing these matchups. I think, obviously it's a really good time to discuss this since very soon chaos may transpire like we just alluded to. Fights and more clashes could happen very soon. So, let's start with a very common matchup. I wouldn't say this is one of the most popular, but it definitely has some weight, and I think Mr. Morge actually put a lot of people on this topic, and that's Luffy versus Jack. What do you think of Luffy versus Jack, Fiji? I know you made a video on that as well, so what are your thoughts on that?
Luffy versus Jack. So yeah, I made a video of Luffy versus Jack and Zoro versus King happening sort of simultaneously, and my whole thing for that was that King and Jack are seemingly together right now, and in that chapter, like when I made that video, Luffy and Zoro were together.
Right.
And now they are still kind of close by, so it can still happen, like a simultaneous fight. I'm not saying a 2v2, but I mean they both like square up and they both face off against King and Jack at the same time, and then go on to have their fights, which will last around the same time. And Luffy versus Jack is like, I'm sure if you're watching this, you're a part of the One Piece community, so you've seen, you know who Mr. Morge is, and he has a video on this topic. And his main reason for adamantly believing that Luffy will fight Jack is because Luffy himself said that he's going to whoop Jack alongside Kaido. And usually, whenever Luffy says he's gonna whoop somebody, he whoops them. So I think like that's a pretty good argument. Obviously there are some rebuttals you can give, but nothing concrete enough to completely dispel the argument. So just based off of that, I feel like it's possible. But then we have Neko and Inu there, and it just gets a bit trickier than that.
Right. And do you think that now that Yamato has been introduced, and it seems like that him and Luffy are going to have their own separate plotline, that takes away the likelihood of Luffy versus Jack? Because Yamato could end up occupying a lot of his time. What do you think?
I mean, it could do both. It could add to it for all we know. Because imagine Jack tries to, like, Jack notices the Flying Six are doing a terrible job,
Good point.
takes matters into his own hands, and then bumps into them, tries to get Yamato back, and Yamato is like to Luffy, please help me out or some stuff. Some shit.
Okay.
Like, I don't see, like, Yamato is strong, so I don't see him saying that, but, like, there could be a good explanation. Maybe Yamato is, like, very frail, like, incredibly strong, but he's a bit cowardly, and that's why the way he attacked Uruti was that he just snuck up on her and hit her with the one shot. Instead of, like, you know what I'm saying? So he might be, like, a bit cowardly, and that's why we could see Luffy having to defend him and fight against Jack for him.
Okay, I've never actually thought about that concept, that Yamato is physically gifted, that he's obviously prodigal because he's the son of Kaido, but maybe he just doesn't have that killer instinct, that mindset to be strong. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure. So, here's my stance on Luffy versus Jack. All the reasons you mentioned, it makes perfect sense, and I could definitely see it happening, but I prefer it not to happen because I think it takes away an opportunity for somebody else to prove themselves, or from somebody who is more narratively inclined to do so, like you mentioned with Neko and Inu. I think someone else could benefit more from Luffy versus Jack, like Killer, someone we've been wanting to see go all out. I think Killer versus Jack would actually be a very interesting matchup, and the difference to me, because people are calling the Jack matchup, it'd be like a Bluno, right? Luffy wouldn't go all out; it'd just be him testing out his abilities. But
Yeah.
The difference to me is that in the Blue Note fight, only the Straw Hats were there. It was Eni's lobby and arc were only revolved around the Straw Hats pretty much. So
Yeah.
so it didn't take away anything from anyone else. But in Wano, we have so many characters, we have so many side characters that could also prove themselves. And I think Jack's fight, like a fight against a Calamity, could just be put to better use.
I agree.
For
I
sure.
agree.
For
And
sure.
I actually agree. I agree for that. Not just with Jack, but with Queen too. When we get into talking about Sanji versus Queen, I'll explain why I feel like people need to appreciate that we have been waiting for payoff from the worst generation, from the supernova, since Sabaody. And they haven't really done anything outside of Law and Luffy. Even Kid doesn't have actual concrete feats under his belt.
Exactly.
He survived encounters and stuff. He's impressive for that. But does he have any concrete feats?
Right.
No.
We haven't seen him do anything. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm not saying he isn't powerful enough now to, be a participant in the Kaido fight and deal some damage. But I'm saying I want an actual fight from him. I want something he can put under his belt, and defeating the Calamity is good for Kid. So even Kid versus Jack is also a possibility. Now, I feel like Kid versus Queen is stronger because there's a bit of a narrative there for it. But yeah, with Jack, it's tough, right? Because Neko and Inu, the way I see it is that they would slap Jack, in my opinion.
Yeah, they destroy him. Absolutely.
I think they would destroy him. I think Neko and Inu would be able to defeat Jack without Sulong if they fought him 2v1. Because they took 12-hour shifts basically.
Right, they switched off. They switched off, exactly. Yeah.
So if they're both combining their force at once, then I feel like they would beat him. I feel like it'd be an extremely tough fight. But I still think like I would bet on them in a 2v1 rather than like a 1v1 where they switch places. Because technically, all they did was like Jack had much better stamina and endurance than them, and he basically fought one of them for 5 days straight, and they basically shared their power amongst the both of them, if that makes sense. They basically took half of the day each.
For sure. And in
Sulong.
Yeah, regardless, it's still an impressive feat from them, but I think people are jumping the gun if thinking one of them could potentially defeat him one-on-one, and then if it's a 2v1, it's just kind of overkill. So yeah, I pretty much agree with you on that. So let's jump into Sanji versus Queen, since we just mentioned it. And in my opinion, this fight, if Sanji does get the Queen fight, it tells us a lot about the endgame ceiling Oda has in mind for him.
Yeah.
If he does get this fight, he very well may fight someone like Green Bull at the end of series, because from a linear perspective, that would make sense.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I always like Sanji versus Green Bull is a fight that I've spoken about before because of the nature of Green Bull's character, and his only scene we've ever seen about him, he comes across as disrespectful towards women. Right. And we just know immediately that's somebody that Sanji would want to. That's who Oda would match Sanji up against in the final war, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think, like, me, I have admirals on the same tier as Yonko. So to have Sanji that powerful at the end of the series is something that I have my doubts about. But if he beats Queen in this arc and he fights Queen and he leaves this arc stronger than Queen, then yeah, that's a very real possibility.
Yep. There's also the thing about Green Bull not eating for years, I think he said. So that's another kind of connection to Sanji there. He hates that.
Exactly.
He hates stuff like that. Okay.
So there's a narrative for that. And then there's just the power argument.
Yeah, just the logical power scaling perspective, where exactly you scale Sanji, exactly, for sure. So I think one of the main arguments is, Queen fitting the description for a Sanji opponent. He, his opponent argues with presumably Zoro's main opponent. They have some characteristics. They smoke. They both love women. So I can kind of see it. It's just the fact that post time skip, we have so many people, like we were just alluding to. I think it's a supernova driven arc personally. So Oda might think it's narratively more important to showcase Kid's one-on-one strength against the commander.
I think there's a narrative for Sanji versus Queen, for sure. A lot of people think Queen is an Okama, by the way. I want to dispel that. Queen is not an Okama. He just wears lipstick, just like Kid. Kid wears lipstick. He is not an Okama. But like, I guess the fact that he's a guy and his name is Queen, that made people think he's an Okama, and I understand that. But there's nothing to suggest he's an Okama other than the name and the lipstick. But Kid, it's kind of weak to think that he's an Okama. Like that's something I've seen so much of. I believed that at the time. I was like, is Queen an Okama? But no, he's not an Okama.
And I've actually never understood why people think being an Okama is like a means for Sanji to fight them. Like I know he hates Okamas and shit, but he only has one matchup with an Okama in this series. Like a more prominent, I would say, a more reoccurring theme in Sanji's fights is trickery. Like Bon Clay tried to trick him with the face swap. He used Nami. Jabra tried to trick Sanji with his bullshit lie about being Robin's brother. Absalom tried to trick Sanji with his invisibility. So I don't get why people bring up the Okama theme when that's not even a reoccurring theme. It's trickery. That's a reoccurring theme with Sanji's opponents. At least in the pre-time skip.
At least in the pre-time skip. Well, he hasn't had an actual real 1v1 in a post-time skip. Neither has Zoro. So I feel like for Sanji, it's weird because overall power-wise, like, I don't know where I'd place him. I don't want to turn this into a power scaling discussion. This is not a power scaling discussion. But, like, overall-wise, I'd say to put him, like, close to Queen and Jack is kind of wild.
Yeah, based
off of what we've seen.
Right.
And that's to say, like, I understand what happened between him and Page 1. But firstly, a lot of that fight was off screen, unless you want to use the anime, but like I don't really use the anime for arguments. But regardless, a lot of that fight was off screen, but we know how the fight ended, right?
Yeah.
We know that, well, the anime tells us that Page 1 wasn't knocked out, right? But at the same time, it's hard to use that. But it's safe to say that Page 1 wasn't, because he looks fine right now, and that fight was about a week ago. I mean, it's too hard to say because it was off screen, right? The fact that it was off screen makes it really hard to argue this.
Yeah.
But in general, the Sanji versus Page 1 thing is just tough to see because he looked really superior to him, and he is superior to him in my opinion. Definitely. But then again, Page 1 is getting like one shot by Luffy in the last chapter.
Page 1's portrayal is not good at all. It's
exactly.
Clearly the lowest in the Flying Six, and I just think the fact that Oda didn't care enough to give us a result in the manga kind of just says a lot. So,
exactly.
Whatever.
So like that's why I was gonna suggest that Sanji might fight off against like Who's Who or Sasaki, and then if he fights a flying, so that's why I wanted to explain why I feel like the Sanji versus Page 1 fight, even though Sanji's already superior to him, doesn't mean that he'll go into like a fight with Who's Who and beat the shit out of them, because it's kind of clear that the portrayal between Who's Who and Page 1 is vastly different so far.
Vastly different for sure. Yeah. And I actually like the idea of Sanji versus X Drake. I don't think Oda would ever give us a fully fleshed out 1v1 between those two with a winner and a loser, but I just like the idea of Sanji clashing with him. I like the idea of Sanji clashing with Page 1 again, maybe defeating him pretty easily, and then going on to X Drake, because they did have an encounter in the capital, and X Drake got the better of him without the raid suit. So, I don't know. I just like the idea. I think X Drake is stronger personally, but I think it'd be a good way to make Sanji look good. Just give him a clash with X Drake. What do you think? Do you think that's possible?
I feel like that would be dope.
Yeah, because I do think X Drake is eventually turning on Kaido, so I don't see him going all the way with Sanji in a fight.
Yeah.
It would just be a cool encounter or clash, Also, the idea of Sanji versus Perospero. I really like that.
Sanji versus Perospero is a dope one. Yeah, that is actually a really good one. Sanji versus Perospero was a cool one, for sure. For like plenty of reasons. Because firstly, there's the whole thing with Perospero. To me is stronger than like most of the Flying Six, right? To me personally. Yeah. I feel like Perospero is
okay.
He's quite like I would put him around like just under Who's Who and Sasaki, but I comfortably have him above the rest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Based off what we've seen.
I agree.
Like Who's Who and Sasaki are hard to say because of their portrayal so far, but he could be like in the same ballpark as even them.
Yeah.
So Perospero to me, if he was like, say if he was in Kaido's crew, and we know how it's based off of meritocracy and just power, he would be like a top 3 Flying Six.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think
except for Drake.
I think a lot of the community actually sleeps on Perospero because he's not a sweet commander, and they seem to scale him more towards the Oven or Daifuku side, but I disagree. I think Perospero has the same portrayal as like Snack. His bounty's higher. His bounty's higher than Snack.
Exactly, and he's the oldest son. He was taking charge of things when Smoothie was there. Smoothie's a sweet commander, and he was the one in charge of things.
Yeah, he seems like an unofficial sweet commander to me, honestly. So
yeah. And then in Whole Cake Island, he was the most competent out of every single one of them, other than maybe Katakuri. But he's the only one that actually Like he killed somebody. He killed
Yeah,
Pedro.
yeah, he did.
Hopefully, hopefully. But yeah. So yeah, he's definitely somebody slept on quite a bit. So Sanji going into a fight with him would be dope. And then you have the whole thing that candy can be melted, so that can explain how Sanji gets through his unbreakable defense that a lot of people are struggling with in Whole Cake Island. So yeah, there's a logic behind that. I like it.
For sure. And then if Kid does not get the queen fight, I think another idea, this one's probably kind of wild, it's probably more of a stretch, but Oda could decide to give Killer the queen fight. What if the two right-hand mans take on the two highest ranking commanders, and Killer fighting Queen kind of indirectly hypes up Kid without actually having to show him, and maybe giving him more energy for the Kaido fight?
I mean, that's not too crazy at all. Honestly, yeah. Killer vs. Queen, obviously there's not much of a narrative going for it, but just your explanation there I see the vision.
Right.
Because it would make sense. I feel like Killer needs something, man, because...
Yeah, maybe he just gets... Maybe the narrative is enough just for him to get revenge for Kid in the Udon prison, you know? Maybe that's enough. Get revenge for his captain. Okay.
Like, I wouldn't be so hard on Kid vs. Queen if it wasn't for the way Kid vs. Apu went down, because we basically didn't get that.
Right.
I don't feel like we are getting that either. It's happened. That's it. Like that entire build up we had from Sabodi till Wano with the revenge plotline and all of that, with the traitor stuff like that. All of that just ended up being resolved in a few panels and between like 2 attacks, and that's it. It's done in my opinion. I don't think we're getting a full-fledged fight between those two down the line.
Yeah,
I mean, we could, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, and I think Oda is really trying to build up the supernovas to all turn on Kaido, and I think that's the reason why. I don't think he wanted Apu to go down that early.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
You know, that's just what it seems like to me. You know, we don't know where Hawkins is either, but I think most would agree that he's eventually going to come back soon.
Yeah, I mean, and if Hawkins comes back and he like pulls out his card and stuff, and he sees that the odds have changed and stuff, then yeah, he's definitely gonna be. He chooses the winning team.
That's exactly how it's going down, and Apu chooses the winning team also. He's an opportunist as well. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Awesome. Let's move on to Zoro versus Keen, one of the most popular theories in all of Wano, one of the most popular matchups. So, in my opinion, you know my stance on this. I made a video on this. I think it'd be absolutely ridiculous if it doesn't happen. Like, we haven't seen Ashura one time. He hasn't had a single real fight. Keen fits the structure as the number 2. He seems to be the strongest swordsman, might be a master of Ryo, like Zoro specializes in armament hockey. He gives Zoro the potential opportunity to cut fire. Seems to be he's a very competent person like Zoro who gets the job done. Obviously has crazy endurance. You know, all the Zoan users have crazy endurance. So to me, this is just like a textbook matchup made in heaven. Especially in the land of swordsmen, he fights the strongest swordsman. Just common sense, right? What do you think?
Yeah. Nah, like I'm like 99% sure we get Zoro versus King.
Yeah, but I think the main distinction is just what difficulty is this going to happen. Is Zoro going to get his absolute shit rocked like Luffy did against Katakuri, and then eventually he has to overcome, or will they be kind of evenly matched, and then Zoro just has to barely edge him out, barely get over the hump? How do you see it going down?
I don't think it's going to be that tough. I don't think it is, because I do think it's going to be a very tough fight for him, and I do think he's going to have to overcome King to some degree, because I do think King is a bit stronger than Zoro right now.
For sure.
But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be a drastic difference, and I wouldn't be surprised if Zoro is already on the same level as King, because I want everyone who's listening right now, and you as well, to like go back and think of Enies Lobby and Water 7. And remember how Lucci one-shot Luffy and Zoro, right? One-shot them, destroyed them, absolutely like embarrassed them, right? And then 12 hours later, literally 12 hours later, Luffy defeated Lucci, Zoro defeated Kaku, Luffy gained a new form, Zoro gained a new form, Sanji came up with Diable Jambe. They grew tremendously overnight because the plot demanded it.
Yep. Okay,
so imagine Wano now, where Zoro gained Enma and had a week to train with him. A week. Oof. In shonen terminology, a main character training for a week is the equivalent of 5 years in a hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah.
Like it's
dead ass.
All I'm saying is I feel like Zoro is gonna just be as strong as he needs to be. And if he needs to fight King, he's gonna be as strong as King.
Yeah, Oda is gonna wank this man, pretty crazy. One thing that I really dislike is that there isn't a proper gauge of Zoro's strength before.
There isn't. Yeah.
That's annoying, you know. And I
That is kind of annoying.
and I understand that Oda wants to save Ashura. He wants to save any potential ability he might have learned in the time skip. But it's just like, come on, we've been speculating for so long. It's like we truly don't know how strong this man is.
What? Yeah, exactly. This is the thing, right? My stance is, because I just try to make sense of it, right? Since we don't know, my stance is that he was equal to Luffy up until Whole Cake Island.
Yeah, I'm with
Now, a lot of people hate that stance because, like, Luffy not equal to Zoro, Luffy way stronger. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too deep into that, but to me, that's how it is, and that's how it's been since the very beginning of the story. Luffy and Zoro have always been on a comparable level to me. When I say equal, I don't mean they're like exact equals. I'm just saying they are on a very comparable level. If they fight, it's going to be an extremely difficult fight for both of them. And I'm actually giving Zoro more wins than Luffy because the fact he's a swordsman. And I feel like Zoro has had superior armament haki to Luffy for the majority of the New World. Now it's a bit tough to say because Luffy has just trained his armament haki for like a week, so it's hard to say. But Zoro has also been training his armament for a week. Zoro has used advanced armament haki in Fishman Island. He used a Kekai. He created a barrier in the same way the Admirals created a barrier. So it's like it's hard to say, man, because with swordsmen, armament haki is their bread and butter. They have to be top. They have to be like fantastic when it comes to armament haki. And then when you look at Luffy, he has to find a way to balance his devil fruit with armament haki, and that's why he came up with gear 4th. And then you have to there's so much going into it, but with Zoro it's a bit simpler than that because we know that, you know, like I don't know what it's called, I forgot its name, like just swordsmanship. We know that swordsmanship isn't a huge thing in One Piece, and that like actually training your skill with the sword doesn't matter that much, but armament haki does. It matters a shit ton for swordsmen.
Yeah, absolutely. You pretty much nailed it all. You know, armament haki is huge. We can't sleep on what Draco Mihawk taught this man. You know, he has a black blade. He has what's called to be the strongest blade in the world. It would just kind of be, you know, we should not be sleeping on Zoro's ability in armament haki, especially in armament haki. But so a lot of people counter argument Zoro versus King with Marco versus King. You know, we obviously have the callbacks in chapter 981. They're both birds, flying Zoans. It makes sense from a matchup standpoint, both within the same realm of most people's power scaling. Most people have them in the same tier. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying for Luffy versus Jack. Marco versus King takes away an opportunity for someone else who has to prove themselves. Someone who we've been waiting to prove themselves. You know, I don't think Marco's role is going to be taking down Kaido's top commander. I don't see Marco fighting King. I could see a clash because clashes happen all the time in One Piece. Very short clashes. But a fully fleshed out fight to me is not necessary for Marco, somebody who's very established in the world of One Piece, someone who doesn't have anything to gain by fighting King. It's just, you know, a matchup of two birds. That's really all it is.
There's actually no real narrative going for it at all.
Exactly.
And it takes away, like you said, it takes away from someone who needs to fight. Because if Zoro doesn't fight King, who does he fight? Does he just not get a 1v1?
Yeah, it's like who's who, man? Like, are you telling me who's who?
Yeah, it's wild, man.
You're gonna be the strongest swordsman of all time, but you're capping at who's who in Wano, man. Like, yeah, I don't know about that one, bro. I think Oda cares about Zoro's goal a little more than that.
Yeah, it's how far away are we from the end game right now, man? Like, how many more 1v1s does Zoro have after this?
Only like a handful, honestly.
Honestly, like only a handful. I'm throwing out Shiryu there. I'm throwing out an Admiral. I personally think he's fighting Kizaru in the final war. Like that's about it that I can think of. Shiryu, Kizaru, then Mihawk, and there's probably like might be another one if you have another character introduced.
Maybe like an Elbaf giant that's really strong or something. I don't know.
Like something, maybe another one. But overall, there's only a handful of fights left. How does he get strong enough to fight Mihawk? Unless you think. Yeah, like the thing is, a lot of people sleep on Mihawk's power, but
for sure, that's not.
That's not what we do.
No, that's not what we do, man. Okay, so a Tobi Roppo matchup I see a lot is Sasaki versus Jinbei, and I actually agree with this one. You know, Jinbei to me is not. I don't know if he's command. He's definitely on the cusp of commander level. I don't know if I put him at third commander level, but Sasaki is a fisherman. a fishman that has great portrayal in the Flying Six. I just think, it makes a lot of sense. What do you think?
I have Jinbei like around the same as you, like the cusp of commander level. Sasaki, I don't know. Because it's possible, no doubt. But I feel like the only thing going for that is the fact that people think Sasaki is a fisherman.
Right.
Other than that, like, what is there going for it?
Yeah, true.
Just that they're relative in power.
I kind of said that as fact, and it's not confirmed. You're right. He's not confirmed to be a fisherman yet. But I guess people also kind of use that argument for Jinbei versus Jack, because is Jack confirmed to be a fisherman? Like, is that an absolute fact?
Yeah,
okay,
he's a half fisherman.
Yeah,
he's a half fisherman.
And that kind of goes with the usual formula, because if you have Jinbei fighting Jack, you likely think Oda's going back to the usual Straw Hat formula of Zoro fighting King, Sanji fighting Queen, Jinbei fighting Jack, kind of very obvious and predictable matchup. So, if Oda wants to wank Jinbei to Jack level, it's definitely possible. I wouldn't rule it out, but I personally don't see it happening.
I feel it.
So, who's who? Obviously, he's looking for Yamato, but I don't think he's going to find Yamato.
I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about Yamato. I'm not going to lie. I like the vibe I got that he did at first, right? He was very excited about the opportunity. But then recently he's just like looking at Queen, and he's like, Queen is like, there's somebody I want to get rid of, and he's most likely talking about who's who. And then who's looking back, and he's like, well, that makes two of us. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? It's like, dog, I don't know, man.
Right, but couldn't you also use that logic for Yamato, because he wants to kill Queen, therefore he's more motivated to find Yamato and get the opportunity to face Queen? Couldn't you look at it like that?
Okay, that makes sense too. Yeah, that makes even more sense, to be fair.
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted the scene. But anyway, back to Yamato. It's like, none of them. Do you think any of the Flying Six are going to even find Yamato at this point? Do you think Yamato's just going to take?
He's with Luffy. He's with Luffy. That's it.
He's just going to take Luffy somewhere and most likely tell him a story, or tell him about his upbringing and stuff. But who's who? I could also, if who's who does start to join the action, I could see him fighting. Someone like Killer would make sense. Right?
So okay, Killer could be cool for him.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Then again, like Jack versus Killer, that's one I don't really see happening. So Who's who is one I could see.
For sure. Who's who? Maybe. I don't think Law gets a 1v1 fight.
I don't either. I feel like he just plays a massive support role.
Yeah, because, and just based on where they're at, he's taking the submarine group. They're going directly to the back. They even emphasize that they're going to the back so that the scabbards can be fresh for the inevitable battle, the main battle against Kaido, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because besides
That's what matters to them.
Yeah, Kinemon and Denjiro, they're leading the forces, but they eventually are going to meet up with them. But the rest of the scabbards, Ashura, Doji, Kiku, Dog, and then Cat's on a different ship, obviously. But they're just going to land straight in the back and go straight to Kaido. And I feel like since Law is with them, that's going to be the same logic for him, that he's just going to go straight to the Kaido fight without really a 1v1 and just play support against Kaido.
Yeah. Having a Law who's at 100% playing support is fucking great, because
we need that.
like,
we need that.
His stamina and endurance is actually quite impressive if you look at Dressrosa. Like he was using his devil fruit all fucking day. So if he can do that, and maybe he might have like improved since Dressrosa with his stamina and endurance. So if he can do that for us here in this battle, like Luffy and Zoro and Kid in and out of Kaido's like range and like hitting him with attacks. I'm just excited for these combos.
I sure hope so, man. Yeah, Oda could come up with some very interesting tactics, and especially because Punk Hazard made Law seem like he was the most broken character in the verse, but then Dressrosa kind of humbled that a little bit. We saw people kind of expose his weakness, which, I mean, I wouldn't call it a weakness. It's just that if your Haki is superior, you can counter Law. Like, factually, you can counter Law. And
makes sense. It's better than it being broken, right?
Right. I agree. And, he was able to pull off a couple of tricks on Doflamingo when he was off guard, such as when he saved Sanji, when he did the, what's it called? The Red Hawk switch with Luffy. So
that was dope.
So it is possible he could maybe catch Kaido off guard with some tactics, although I don't know. It's gonna be tough, but I'm excited for this. I'm excited for sure.
Definitely, bro. I feel like he can, because when you look at Kaido, he's a big target, right? Like, he's a massive target. So him, like, Law being able to ruin people in and out of his range, that's something I can see. Makes sense.
Right. I'm with you on that. And then, so we kind of got off topic with Law there, but what do you think about X Drake? I know he's the anomaly of the Flying Six. He doesn't have the same goals as the Flying Six. What do you think his role in the raid is? What do you think he's trying to accomplish exactly, and who could he fight?
I do not think X Drake gets a fight.
Okay.
I think he might get a few clashes.
Yes. Okay.
But with X Drake, I think his role in this arc is, I think it ties to CP0 and why CP0 were here. Because when he called Kobe, that was like the main highlight of their conversation, right?
Yes.
They were like, "Yo, CP0 are here, by the way."
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yep. That.
Like that was the most shocking thing about the conversation. Obviously, the Kaido and Big Mom alliance, but that was also massive. But
right.
the main thing there was the CP0 thing, like other than Kaido and Big Mom. So that to me, who knows if they even are on the island anymore? I'm guessing they are since we didn't see them leave CP0. So I'm guessing they are somewhere on the island. It would be dope if we just get X Drake like fighting off against some of these CP0 members and we get some build up for future arcs. I don't know. X Drake is such an anomaly because you just don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, he's a wild card. He's a major wild card for sure.
Yeah. So like I do think he plays a role in the raid, 100%. I think he might even be looking for Yamato right now because he has to keep up this image, right?
Yes.
He has to keep up this image that he's a flying six. But he did say he isn't bothered. He doesn't care about it. So at the same time, maybe his image as a flying six is that he doesn't give a fuck about anything. So
for sure. You know,
he's a tough one, man. He's a tough one. But I just hope his stuff is to do with CP0 and to do with like getting some Marines in here at the end of the arc. And like getting Wano under the jurisdiction of the world government. That's something I could see. So yeah, there's a lot going into it, but right now he's a question mark.
Yeah,
big question
yeah.
mark.
I like the idea of him keeping up his, the image of his fake pirate persona. I do agree with you that I don't think he gets a fully fleshed out 1v1, but I think he does play a big role in the Kaido fight. I think he turns on Kaido for sure, and then I think he would, in fact, team up with his supernova counterparts if it meant taking down a bigger threat, which is Kaido. I think it just
Okay.
I truly believe Oda's setting up all the supernova versus Kaido at some point.
Everyone that's on Wano right now, except like Uruj and stuff, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So like a lot of people think Uruj is coming because of this fight. Like they want it to be like every supernova versus Kaido. I doubt it because it's like too hard to do that right now.
That's too much in my opinion. Yeah, that's a little too much. But we do know that Mad Monk was in the Sky Island when Kaido jumped off. Like why was he near Kaido? I don't know, it could just be a coincidence, but
Yeah, it could be. But I mean nothing in One Piece is a coincidence. So we'll see.
For sure.
Who knows? Perhaps he's Yamato's mother. Anyway, it's hard to see right now. It's hard to say right now. But the main topic I think we want to talk about when it comes to matchups is obviously the participants of the Kaido fight.
Yes. I was just about to actually say that. We're getting into the meat of the topic now. The Kaido participants, man. There are so many damn people that I think are gonna have a role in this, and I think it could be separate fights. I think we could potentially get a whole entire Scabbards versus Kaido sequence, then maybe a whole entire Supernovas versus Kaido sequence, then maybe
that makes sense.
So like I talked about earlier, Ashura Doji, Kawamatsu, Kiku, and them, they're on the submarine with Law, and the plan was in chapter 9077, Hyogoro said that they need a plan in which the Scabbards could make it to the decisive battle against Kaido, and then Law said, I got this. We'll come up with this plan to get you there. And then, of course, Kinemon said, no, I need to lead them on the front lines. So Kinemon and Denjiro are obviously leading two separate squads on the front lines. And then and they'll eventually meet back with the Scabbards in the back. So I just think I don't think any of the Scabbards get one-on-ones. I think they just go straight to Kaido. You agree with that?
I think the main Scabbards are going to be I think the main ones that I'm like certain are going to be in the Kaido fight are Kinemon, Denjiro, and Shutenmaru. When it comes to the rest, there's question marks about like amongst a few of them. Like Raizo, like what role would he play? Maybe he can use his ninpo, like his ninjutsu, to do some shit. Like who knows what that's capable of? So maybe he's able to do something really cool and provide as a good support. What is Okiku gonna do? Again, not too sure. What is Kawamatsu gonna do? I mean, he's strong. He can definitely help out, but at the end of the day, my thing is, I don't think these people should even be able to hurt Kaido because it's been emphasized again and again and again how tough his skin is.
Yep.
And the only ones I think that should or could be able to hurt him right now that are on Wano are Marco, Luffy, King, Zoro. No, did I say King? Kid, Zoro, Denjiro, and a big maybe for shooting Maru. And I'm talking about just people on our side, right? I'm not talking about the opposition.
Yeah.
So like those are the main ones I could see being able to hurt him, and maybe Law as well if he can find a way to like hit him with a Gamma Knife.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Law could definitely hit the Gamma Knife because of how many people are assisting him. I definitely and damaging the insides of Kaido would be huge, obviously.
Would be massive, yeah. Like I don't think it's like an insta kill because a lot of people think that, right? A lot of people think the Gamma Knife is an insta kill. I don't think it's an insta kill.
Definitely not for Kaido, at least. Like
yeah, not for Kaido, exactly. Definitely not for Kaido. Yeah, it's definitely like the guy jumped off a fucking Sky Island and barely hurt himself.
Yeah, this guy's insane. This guy's insane, man.
Yeah. It's definitely not for Kaido or just any top tier for that matter. I feel like it was a problem for Dofi, but Dofi had a good counter to it, so he was fine. But in general, yeah, I don't think the Gamma Knife is an insta kill in general. So him actually landing that on Kaido would be fire. That would be dope.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And then you mentioned Raizo, and I actually think a good matchup for Raizo would be the
Fukurokuju?
Yes, I was gonna say because wasn't that his former rival?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that happening. Obviously, some of the scabbards definitely seem too weak to fight Kaido, like you mentioned, like Okiku and them.
I've had
only really the top tiers, probably.
The Mima Warigumi are here and the Onio Banshu, and they provide a lot of people on Orochi's side for some of the scabbards to fight.
Right.
Like the weaker scabbards.
Right. So we talked a lot about the scabbards. Which supernovas do you think? I talked about how I think every supernova will play at least some sort of role.
Yeah.
But do you see it as all the supernovas at one time? Like, or do you see it mostly like go ahead.
I have no idea. I ain't gonna lie, it's hard for me to say right now.
It is, yeah, it is.
The main thing I know is that but the main thing I believe is that Zoro will play the most major role in the fight against Kaido for the longest duration against Kaido. Because I feel like this is going to be a very long fight spanning over multiple hours. I feel like Luffy is also going to play one of the most major roles, but until like halfway through the fight, where he has to leave in order to fight Big Mom, and I'll get into that in a second.
Yep.
And then we have Kid. I feel like he's there for like maybe just as long as Zoro, fighting Kaido from the start to end. And I feel like we might see a relationship develop between Zoro and Kid, because we've already had like little glimpses of interactions between them, and just the fact that the fact that they're both fighting gifters right now and being highlighted and stuff like that. I feel like we might see that, and I really enjoy that too. If we just see them like pissed off at each other, forced to work with each other, that would be funny as fuck. That would be lit. I would really enjoy that. Would be great for both the characters.
For sure, I'm with you. And then obviously we have the main supernova captain trio that's been emphasized in the story, but some people have called it a reach, but I think the supernova combat trio has actually been emphasized to be Zoro, Kid, and Luffy.
I guess so. I guess you could say that.
Like the ones that are mainly fighting on the front lines. We know Luffy and Kid have the biggest grudge against Kaido, and we know that Zoro, narratively will have a huge role in the Wano arc just based on, the themes of the arc and what's been built up for him. So
there's millions of things.
There's tons. We'll have a whole entire episode one day definitely dedicated to that. But I undoubtedly believe that the three biggest members of the Kaido fight will be Luffy, Kid, and Zoro.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So, Big Mom. I know
So Big Mom. I hate this woman so much.
Yo, the fandom don't want to hear about Big Mom's relevance, man.
Big Mom. As much as I hate her, right? Like I don't even hate her that much. I just don't like a lot of the scenes involving her, right?
Which is fair. But it's completely fair opinion, bro.
Yeah. The thing with Big Mom, right, is even though I don't really like to see her on my screen, I need to see her have a massive role in this arc and to be dealt with satisfyingly. I need Luffy to be the one to defeat Big Mom. Right, of course, it's going to be a group battle similar to the Kaido fight, but I feel like there is a bigger narrative for Luffy fighting Big Mom than there is for Luffy fighting Kaido. And before you go off and before you start typing up your comment about you're pushing your Zoro agenda, let me emphasize, right? The main thing is that this fight between Luffy and Big Mom, and just Luffy and Big Mom and Kaido. The point is, I feel like Luffy has to leave Wano having technically defeated both the Yonko. I feel like that's something that should happen. I feel like he has said he wants to defeat all 4 of the emperors, but he wants to save Shanks for last. And the reason why he's not going to end up defeating Shanks is because Blackbeard is going to get to Shanks first. But he's still going to end up defeating all the main emperors in terms of the antagonistic forces, right? So Kaido, Big Mom, and Blackbeard. But then you look at this Big Mom fight, right? And people are like, no, this is Kaido's arc. Kaido's the main antagonist of the arc. Luffy's going to fight Kaido. Luffy will defeat Kaido. And I get it. Of course I get it. Because just like the crocodile fight, Luffy has taken an L to Kaido, which emphasizes that he needs to get his payback, right? And that's something, it's like a common thing that happens in One Piece, where they always fight, the antagonist always usually takes a W on Luffy, and then he comes back, right? But you have to look at it like this, right? This is the first arc in the series, other than Thriller Bark, that has 2 antagonists on the same level, or like same tier
Bingo.
of overall power and overall significance. These are 2 characters that Luffy wants to defeat, that equally wants to defeat. He wants to defeat both of these. It's not just I want to defeat one of you and like the others are not that important to me. I want to defeat both of you. I need to kick both of your asses. And there's the point that both of them are just as overwhelmingly powerful. That's something people sleep on. That's something people love to forget. They love to like not account for that, to account for the fact that this is the arc with not a major antagonist, but 2 co-antagonists.
Yeah, exactly.
They kind
of just push Big Mom to the side because it's not her arc technically, but it's the Yonko saga. This is the culmination of the Yonko saga, in which all these plotlines have been built up since Fishman Island. Fishman Island being before Luffy even, had any sort of beef with Kaido.
Exactly.
So
and there's like a personal thing with like Big Mom and Luffy are both gluttons as well. Like you can account for that. I understand that's a bit of a, I guess you could say it's a reach, but it's something that connects them.
Yeah,
in a way.
I like it. Drunk versus drunk, glutton versus glutton. It makes sense. It makes sense, bro.
Love to see it.
Yep. And then it's like, Luffy did say he wants to defeat all 4 emperors, right? Like you just alluded to. But what exactly does that mean? Does that mean? I mean, I guess Luffy is kind of civil-minded, so maybe it does mean to him that I have to defeat each Yonko myself. But we know that it's going to be group fights anyway. So So why can't he get assistance from his right hand?
Yeah. This is the thing to me, right? That a lot of the fandom don't like to appreciate this, right? Zoro defeating Kaido is a W for Luffy. In the same way that in Sabaody, when Uruj saw Zoro and he said, "This is the first mate of the Straw Hat Pirates," what did he say after that? He said, I'm like, what kind of man must this captain be if this is how powerful this guy is? Right? And that just goes to show your first mate, your vice captain, your number 2, his portrayal and his feats are also technically yours. Of course, it's going to be more highlighted for Zoro, and it's still Zoro's accomplishment. But it's also like, it's going to be like Luffy defeats Big Mom, Zoro defeats Kaido. And at the end of the day, the Straw Hat Pirates defeat 2 Yonko.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think what's very important about this arc is that I could understand people saying, I don't think Zoro's going to defeat Kaido because it overshadows Luffy. But the fact that Big Mom is here gives Luffy an opportunity for a feat
to not be overshadowed.
Yeah, for a feat of equal notoriety.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a lot of people. Of course, we just threw this whole concept of Luffy killing Kaido out, and it's a massive topic that I'm gonna have to delve into a lot deeper. We are both gonna have to delve into a lot deeper. So just take that with a grain of salt for now, because obviously we have to explain our stance on this entire thing. But I just want to quickly emphasize what I mean by that is these will both be group battles. I feel like Marco was gonna assist Luffy greatly in the battle against Big Mom, just because of Marco and his sort of relationship with Luffy that stems from his relationship with Ace and the fact that he is willing to die for Luffy. I feel like that's why he's going to stick by Luffy, and that's why he will be a part of the Big Mom fight. And I feel like Luffy still has to play a role against Kaido, but something will happen like around the middle of the fight or something that incites him to leave the fight and have to deal with Big Mom, because Big Mom's a massive wild card. She's a massive wild card. She might just get pissed off and just pull up, and it's like, fuck, we need to deal with Big Mom now.
Right. And who else do you think could play a big role in the fight against Big Mom? Because I know you said Marco, which I look at Marco as the most versatile asset in the alliance. I think he could contribute against either Yonko, honestly. Or I think
Yeah, he could, yeah.
he could just play support. He could just heal. There's a lot of things he can do, but I also like the idea of Jinbei participating in the Big Mom fight because there's obviously a narrative there with him leaving her crew. And there's also speculation
I agree.
because I personally speculate that Jinbei did not get away from Big Mom unscathed, that there were actually consequences because he kind of just pulls up out of nowhere conveniently, like, oh, I'm here. Yeah, I got rid of Big Mom, but I had to say my farewells. It's like, dude, was there really no consequences in getting away from Big Mom? Could there be?
I mean, yeah.
Could there be a hidden narrative there where maybe she actually killed his crew, and could that piss off Luffy? What do you think? Could that be one of the reasons, like you said?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome, and it's possible, and it makes sense. I just doubt it, personally.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie.
So you truly believe that Jinbei just got here very conveniently?
Basically, yeah. I kind of do believe that.
Okay.
I kind of believe he just came right place at the right time.
Okay, yeah. I personally wouldn't like that, but not gonna lie, with some of the way some Wano plotlines have been resolved, that honestly wouldn't be surprising if that's the case.
I mean, yeah, like, again, it's very possible what you're suggesting, and I feel like I would love it, and it is possible. I'm not certain that nothing happened to like the Sun Pirates, or the New Fisherman Pirates, whatever they're called. Right. But it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say. I believe that. I just feel like it's done. It's dealt with. It's happened.
For sure. So, is there anyone else you can think of that could play a big role in the Big Mom fight? Maybe. I know it's kind of a stretch for Nami because of how
I was just about to say
of how we actually scale her, but she does have Zeus, and she might even get Prometheus. I mean, or maybe she might get Prometheus. But what do you think? Just Nami playing a support role from the shadows.
I would like it, man. I would like it. I'm not gonna lie. I would like it.
Okay. And then there's also...
I mean, I don't really... I wouldn't get too fussed over power scaling, right? It's just... Yeah. I understand there's power scaling stuff, but just narratively, Nami playing a role against the Yonko is awesome. It's something I want to see from her, some nice feats, and it's not completely out of, the realm of possibility with her having Zeus and whatnot, for her to land a hit, or at least, like, distract Big Mom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
Drop a thunderbolt by her side that, like, takes her attention off of Luffy, and then Luffy lands on a punch or something.
Yeah, for sure. And then another character I would like, but I think is very unlikely just due to one of his core characteristics, and that's Sanji. Obviously there's a narrative with Big Mom, but
I would love it, man.
Can Sanji hit a woman? Will we ever see him hit one? Probably not. But man,
it's not happening. It's definitely not happening, but I feel like it would be awesome in terms of growth, but at the same time, it wouldn't be awesome. It would be too late. If it was set up, if it was a plot line set up for his growth, for him to like, it's too late for that. If it was gonna happen, it should have been set up from like Whole Cake Island. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
But Whole Cake Island, what it done was it completely deconstructed Sanji's character, broke him down to basically nothing, to like questioning his ideals and stuff, and then it brought him back up to the exact same person he was at the start of the arc, and it basically helped him to double down on his beliefs and his ideals, and that's why I'm certain that he will never ever hit a woman, and that like his ideals will never change, which is, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just something I would have preferred to see change.
Yeah, I'm with you. We saw Sanji block Big Mom in Whole Cake Island, but that's the farthest he'll ever go. He was just protecting himself.
Yeah, but he blocked Khalifa numerous times in their fight too. So it's like it's normal for him to block women, but yeah, he's not gonna fight them.
For sure. So we covered a lot of the Wano matchups. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, VG, as far as matchups?
Okay. So, Brook versus Perospero, right? Brook and Kara. I would want it to be a 2v1 just for logical power scaling sake, right?
Yeah.
Brook and Kara versus Perospero. I don't really have many crazy expectations, but I would just like to see it happen as just a way to further the plotline with Pedro and add some more just emotion, because it's an emotional narrative to some degree. Like, it didn't like hurt me or anything when Pedro died, but seeing Brook's reaction was like it was a great scene.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked that scene a lot. Pedro was a good character for sure.
For real, I agree.
So I think that concludes all the matchups that we wanted to go over in this episode. So let us know if there's any other topics you want us to discuss in future videos, or if there's any other matchups you guys would like to see. I've been your host, Jagan, aka JaganGuts, and this is my co-host, Fiji.
Yep, peace. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the second episode of the Romance Dawn podcast. We will see you next time.